forehand ground stroke demonstration, I'm going to use a tennis teaching aid. This is known as the Topspin Pro. I like this not only because it's portable, but because the multicolored ball spins and it shows you the top spin. It's stationary, so it's just going to be here at the contact point. So you'll see how it goes during the demonstration. I also like the Billie Jean King Eye Coach. I also use cones at different heights, or even baseball tees for ground stroke practice. The other great practice tool, obviously, is a mirror. So anyway, from the ready position, I'm going to demonstrate from a one-hander's ready position. But if you're a two-handed player, just make sure both hands are on your grip, as I demonstrated earlier with the ready positions and the grips to use. You have an option on the forehand ground stroke grip to use. Initially, if you're a beginner player or beginner/intermediate player, I recommend you stay with an Eastern forehand grip or the grip on number 3. As you get better, if you would like to add more topspin to your game, you can try what's known as a semi-Western grip. So instead of the grip on number 3, you can change the grip over a little bit further, go on the grip on number 4. A semi-Western grip will help assist in getting the racket face more closed as the racket goes below contact point. The more you can close the racket face, the more vertically you can swing, the more low to high or more vertical to swing, the more possibility to produce topspin. But you don't necessarily have to use a semi-Western grip to produce topspin. The key on making sure that you get the racket vertical at impact point, and I'll show this, is getting the palm of the hand down towards the ground as the racket goes low, and I'll demonstrate that. From the ready position, racket is in front. You would turn as though you're hitting a forehand volley. You turn first for a volley, and then you turn further. As you can see, I keep my left hand on the racket as I turn. Now I turn further. There's my forehand ground stroke. That's known as the racket on edge, or your preparation for the ground stroke. So ready position. You pivot, get your racket back. Now the next position is a hard one for most people to get. It's like you're sitting in a chair. You step forward with your left foot. As you do that, you push your palm of the hand down to the ground, and then you squat down. As you can see, my palm is down towards the ground, the racket face is closed. My body is centered, just like I'm sitting in a chair. Now when I transfer my weight, I'm going to lift up, straighten my front leg, and as you can see, my racket is vertical at the impact point. Again, how did I get the racket vertical at the impact point? When my racket went below the ball, below the level of the contact point, the racket face closed. I took the palm of my hand and I pushed it down to the ground. Now when I swing up, the racket strings are vertical. You also notice that my body is on a 45-degree angle to the hit, so I'm over the ball, is what it's called. Okay, now you keep your eyes on the contact point, and then you let your racket extend out to your target as long as you can. It's called hitting from the shoulder. You let your racket come through, and then at the end you catch your racket. And if you keep your eyes down at the hit, you would touch your shoulder to your chin. As you can see, I have balance at the end where all my weight is on my front foot, and then my back heel is up. So again, forehand ground stroke. You would turn or pivot, get your racket back behind you. As you can see, my left hand and right hand stay relatively close together. Now it's like I'm sitting in a chair. I lower my legs down, and I push my palm down to the ground. Now when I transfer my weight forward, I lift up, straighten my front leg, racket is vertical at the impact point, hit through the hit, and then at the end I check my balance at the end. Keep my eyes at the hit, back heel is up, and I'm balanced at the end. Later on, when you start to swing very fast, the racket will go over the shoulder. I like finishing it up here for now, and then you can go a little higher if you'd like. The other thing to take note is the wrist does no movement. So when you're in your ready position, this is known as a fixed wrist. Okay, there's a little bend in the back. As you do your swing, do not move your wrist. You push the palm down, but the wrist still stays in that position. Even at contact point, the wrist is in the same position. You can always check it at the end to see if it's in the same position at the end as when you started. The elbow and the shoulder are loose, the wrist is fixed. Again, forehand ground stroke. You pivot, get your racket back. Go down to your sitting position. Transfer your weight through to contact point. Hit through the shot and hold your balance. Take this out of the way so you can see the picture from the side of the swing. Ready position. Pivot or turn for the ground stroke. Step, go down, sit down, close the racket face. Swing inside out to your contact point. Keep your head still, let the racket go out to the target. Come all the way up, catch your racket with your opposite hand, and look over your shoulder, look over your elbow at the end, and then check your balance. High, low, back up high again. Also take note, the swing doesn't go in parts. It's only really, it does go in parts, but it's only 2 parts. I'm showing you checkpoints so that you can learn. Checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, and then checkpoint 4. But ideally when you play, you would turn to 1, then everything else is smooth. So it's 2, 3, 4, and you hold your balance. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold your balance. The only difference between this with an Eastern and a Continental is the grip. The other difference is as you're swinging, a semi-Western would be a little bit more in front of the body and a little bit higher on the contact point. It's a little harder to stay over the ball, but you do want to try to stay over the shot as long as you can, even with a semi-Western.